Okay, thank you again. Now, you can't leave just yet. Just a final, you're free to leave the stage if you wish. Just a few final words to wrap things up a bit here. So we've tackled a lot today. We crammed in actually quite a lot in just a few sessions, which is why it was such a busy day. The mayor set out really the city's overarching objective at the very beginning of the day, saying the goal was to create a city that is sustainable, livable, and attractive for business. And what we found in some of the discussions today is that there's really no one path to that kind of goal. There are a lot of different ways that you can go about it. And in that vein, learning from other cities and the paths that they've taken is really the important part. We heard from several other success stories today and challenges that other cities faced. So it doesn't really matter how you go about it or which path you take. The important thing is that there is an agreed path and that there is a goal in sight, and crucially that all the stakeholders in the city, and I include the citizens in that as well because they are the ultimate stakeholders, but that the business community, the political leadership, and the citizens all more or less agree on what that end game should be and where that path should lead, and that's really the crucial starting point. So you have to have buy-in from everyone involved in order to make this vision come true and to keep on the right path. But this is obviously trite and easy to say. I mean, I know it's extremely difficult. There are a lot of competing interests, a lot of challenges ranging from social to even technological and economic. We heard in the first presentation that one of the key challenges is connecting the competitiveness agenda, i.e. the economic growth agenda and the business agenda, with social objectives. And I think this is really at the heart of a lot of the tension that we're seeing in the world now. It's partly responsible for some of the rise in populism. It's affected elections and key referenda in Europe, elections, of course, in the US, and we're probably about to see another wave of that coming up with other elections in Europe. But I think the two, it should be self-evident, but the two don't need to be mutually exclusive. And I think the big challenge for political leaders is to not let the discussion go to that place where it becomes a given that there really is two competing goals of economic growth, prosperity, business success, and social progress, social objectives, and social security. So the case has to be really made by the political leaders that these are two sides. We heard a coin metaphor, that these are two sides to the coin, that they're not two separate, completely different coins. So I think that that's sort of the challenge I would offer to those in city leaderships around the world. The public sector can't do it all on its own. We've heard that point made today, and again, I think that's the crucial point, why the private sector can't really afford to be vilified and why their buy-in is so essential, because the expertise, the capital, and even the dynamism of the private sector really has to be what's harnessed to make smart city objectives or smart city initiatives come to fruition, and of course to create jobs and to create the social, actually to pay for the social policies that are the goal for a lot of politicians. So there are a few different ways we've heard that this can be done. I mean, this can be done, of course, through the PPPs. We also heard a different version of PPP, I think, presented of people, process, and I forget the middle one. But it can also be achieved partly by creating simply an enabling environment that allows for a thriving, job-creating, multi-tiered business sector. And by multi-tiered, I mean the various aspects that we've heard quite a lot about today. Startups at one level, SMEs, and large companies, and also both foreign companies and domestic players. And a sustainable city economy is going to be one that caters to all of those levels, and where support and excitement for one tier is not at the expense of any other tier. So in terms of how to achieve all this, I mean, there aren't really any simple answers, and we've only really begun to scratch the surface of how to get there. But, in hearing from the cities that we heard from today that are at varying sizes, at varying levels of economic development, there are very specific situations that are unique to every city. But I think from what I heard, there are at least some key factors that we can agree, some really major things that we can say are advantageous more or less across the board in terms of creating economic sustainability and prosperous cities that benefit everyone that live in them. One is knowledge. Of course, this means education, it means training, and it means skills, but it means having the right skills. So the skills for not just the jobs that could exist today, but for the jobs of tomorrow. I know there's a big unemployment problem still lingering in Spain, but it's not just in Spain and everywhere. The knowledge has to be the knowledge in the sectors that the companies need to fill positions for. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. There's no point wishing that these were different jobs that were needed or old skills that are falling to the wayside. So it has to be about knowledge, and it has to be about putting in place the right training and making sure that the people have the right skills. And a key part of that, of course, is tech skills and computer literacy. The second is infrastructure. We've heard a lot about that today, and related to infrastructure is, of course, mobility. And this I mean in both an internal sense, so mobility around the city and a city's internal infrastructure, but also crucially, it's connectivity to the broader region, country, and the world. That means having all the right transport links to make a city accessible for tourists, for visitors, but also for business. Third is talent. It's the inevitable T word. It's everything in not just international business, but in the economy. And that means cultivating local talent, but it also means attracting international talent. Again, these are two different sides of a coin, but they're both equally important. Fourth is livability. I mean, this is really the point of a city. It does no one any good if it's not a nice, pleasant place to be, and if it's not serving to enhance the lives of the people who live here. And so quality of life, it not only makes for happier citizens and a better functioning city, it also helps attract business and international talent and people, so these whole things kind of fit together. And fifth, of course, is collaboration. So there was a lot of talk today about that, and it's a word that can kind of become overused, but I do think in this context it's extremely important. And the collaboration, we've heard a little bit about collaboration amongst cities, and I think that's important because there's a lot of things that can be shared and a lot of ways to tackle shared challenges, but the more important part is a collaboration within the city itself. Again, this means at all levels. This means collaboration between the public and private sector. It means collaboration with local academia and schools and educational facilities to make sure that there's a right match between the needed skills and what's being offered. And again, collaborating with your own citizens, so letting them feel a part of the process, letting them feed in and feel that they have a stake in everything. And that, to me, there's a lot of other things in there, but that's from what I'm hearing today so far, the big five. And the crucial thing is that all of these are, again, they're not in competition with each other. They all combined can create a kind of virtuous circle, which makes for a city that can create organic economic growth and development while also positioning it to be able to attract international capital. And that's really what it's all about. And that's the way that you can build a successful, sustainable economy and spread the prosperity around. Now, I didn't mention in my top five the other big T word, which is technology. And I didn't mention that because partly I believe that that's just inherent. And again, as we've heard, which I thought was a wonderful point, technology is not the goal. Technology is a tool to assist us with the broader goal of economic sustainability. And these other 5 points are necessary ingredients, and technology feeds into all of those in one way or another. And that's really all the observations I have to offer you. Thank you again for the chance to participate here and to check out the city. Of course, there's an evening program where you'll get a chance to tour the famous Guggenheim Museum, and we'll have a dinner and a cocktail, and we'll be back here first thing tomorrow morning, and I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks.